Mr. Ben believed his son's nightmares were just products of the boy's imagination, but he could never have imagined they were a warning of an approaching tragedy. I was a final year education student, tutoring a 7-year-old boy named Tommy. Tommy's father, Mr. Ben, was a kind and cheerful man with a special hobby of collecting antiques. Everything began when Ben brought home an old wooden bed he had bought from a flea market. Because the house was small, he decided to replace Tommy's old bed with the antique one. A few days later, Tommy began talking about recurring nightmares every night. In his dream, there was an old woman with wrinkled skin, wearing a black dress, standing at the foot of the bed. She stared at Tommy with a hateful gaze, as if trying to pierce through him. Her mouth constantly murmured strange languages Tommy couldn't understand. I got chills hearing this, so I told Mr. Ben about it. But Mr. Ben just laughed and said that children had vivid imaginations. Until one day, I came to tutor as usual. But the moment I stepped into Tommy's room, I froze. The boy was levitating in midair, his eyes rolled back and lifeless. Tommy's mouth was producing deep, hoarse sounds, like ancient scripture being recited in an unknown language. I screamed for Mr. Ben. When he rushed in and saw the scene, his face turned pale. We quickly pulled Tommy down and rushed him to the hospital. The next day, Mr. Ben invited a friend named David, an expert in the occult, to the house. David said the bed was imprisoning a demonic spirit from 1,000 years ago. He advised Mr. Ben to burn the bed to prevent any future harm. Ben seemed reluctant, but eventually arranged for someone to take the antique bed away. After that day, Tommy quickly recovered and stopped having nightmares. Everything seemed to be over until I saw Tommy holding a wooden doll, smiling brightly.
Did your dad just buy that for you? It's beautiful.
No, I didn't buy it. It's made from Tommy's old bed. I couldn't bear to throw it away, so I had it carved into a doll. The wood was too good to waste.
I shuddered, not knowing what to say. I just forced a smile and let it go. A few months later, I happened to see the news and was shocked to learn that Mr. Ben and his son had both died in a car accident. Goosebumps ran down my spine, unsure whether it had truly been an accident or the curse of the old bed.
I still vividly remembered the days I spent in that terrifying apartment complex. It haunted me for a long time. That year, I had just been accepted into university and moved into an old apartment building near the campus. I was prone to allergies, so I often applied baby powder to my skin to relieve the itching. However, because I was clumsy, I accidentally spilled the powder on the floor, creating a thin layer of white dust. It was already late, so I hurried out without cleaning it up. When I returned, I was stunned to see smudged footprints clearly imprinted all over the powder-covered floor. Worried, I called the building manager to report what had happened. Hello? I suspect someone broke into my apartment while I was away. Could you please check the security cameras for me?
Ask the security guard tomorrow. It's too late now.
He hung up right after that, but the uneasiness still lingered inside me. I got up and walked around the house, checking every corner to see if anything was missing. As I stepped out onto the balcony, a cat suddenly lunged at me and clawed my face. I screamed and stumbled back, a burning pain spreading across my skin. The cat growled, then leapt onto the neighboring balcony and vanished into the darkness. I clutched my chest, breathing heavily, telling myself it was probably just the neighbor's mischievous cat. That night, as I was sleeping, I heard someone calling my name.
Who allowed you to sleep here? Get up.
I jolted awake, only to find myself lying in the middle of a graveyard. In front of me stood a thin man with a furious expression, staring straight at me. In his hand, he held a sickle, ready to strike at any moment. Who are you? Why am I here?
This is my home. Who gave you permission to lie here?
As soon as he finished speaking, he raised the sickle and charged at me in a frenzy. I was so frightened that I turned to run, but tripped over a rock and fell to the ground. Before I could get up, the man was already upon me, the sickle raised high above my head. I screamed in panic and suddenly woke up in my familiar room. Still shaken, I immediately called my best friend. She arrived not long after, and I trembled as I told her everything that had happened. To help me uncover the truth, she poured an entire box of baby powder all over the room. Then she suggested I sleep in her room and said we'd come back to check in the morning. The next day, when we opened the door, I nearly fainted. Footprints were everywhere, children's footprints, adult footprints in all different sizes. But what chilled me to the bone was that the prints crawled up the walls and even onto the ceiling. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed my things and moved out that very day. A few weeks later, while eating near that apartment complex, I saw a crowd of people running out of the building in a panic. What's going on with that apartment complex across the street?
I heard the building owner dug up someone's grave to build that place without permission. People are furious and came to tear it down.
Really? I just moved out of there because of some strange happenings.
A lot of people left after being scared off. No one dares to stay there anymore.
I felt the blood in my veins turn to ice, a chill running down my spine. Since then, I never dared to go near that apartment building again.
People said that if you worked the night shift at a deserted convenience store, you would occasionally see things you shouldn't see. At first, I thought it was just nonsense made up to scare the faint-hearted. But then, on my very first night at work, strange things began to happen. I was Joss, a first-year architecture student who had just started working at a convenience store. It was past midnight, and I was restocking the shelves when the store phone rang. I picked up the receiver, and a weak female voice whispered,
Help me, please, help me.
"Who are you? Where are you?" There was no reply, only the sound of heavy rain falling on the other end of the line. Then, the call suddenly ended. I stood still for a moment, feeling that something was off, but convinced myself that it was just a prank.
Open the door.
The voice was soft, but echoed eerily. I looked up through the glass door, and my heart stopped. Under the torrential rain, a girl in a white dress stood motionless. Her soaked hair hung down, covering her face. Water dripped from the hem of her dress, pooling into a dark puddle that seemed almost like blood. When she slowly lifted her head, I dropped the phone in horror. Her face was grotesquely distorted, her jaw shattered, and her empty eye sockets oozed a thick black liquid. Her hands clutched the glass door, scratching against it repeatedly, leaving long, eerie marks. I screamed and bolted away, my breath ragged, as if even a second of hesitation would let that terrifying thing catch me. The next morning, I went to see my boss and told him about the girl from the night before.
I've never seen such a girl, and and no other employees have ever mentioned anything like that.
Sir, please let me quit. She was too scary.
It's fine. Just keep working, and I'll give you a raise.
Despite the fear gnawing at me, the pay he offered was twice as high as other places. I desperately needed money, so I had no choice but to grind my teeth and continue working. One night, while I was taking inventory in the storage room, I overheard my boss talking to someone. Peeking through the gap in the door, I saw that it was Drake, an older friend of mine. I keep dreaming about her every night. I can't take it anymore.
Shut up. If anyone finds out about this, I won't let you off.
What was the connection between Drake and my boss? Why was he so scared? 1,000 questions swirled in my mind. Suddenly, the pen in my hand slipped and hit the floor, making a small noise that made both of them turn toward the storage room. Caught off guard, I stepped out, awkwardly smiling at them. The moment Drake saw me, he froze for a second before hurriedly leaving as if avoiding something. Confused, I called out to him, but before I could take a step, my boss blocked my way.
Just focus on your work.
Left with no choice, I reluctantly returned to my tasks, but my mind kept replaying that conversation. The next day, I went to school and found Drake, telling him about the ghostly girl I had seen. His face turned pale with fear, but no matter how much I pressed him, he refused to speak. Seeing his reluctance, I pulled out a necklace with a D pendant, Drake's usual accessory, that I had found at the convenience store. Finally, under my insistence, he revealed the horrifying truth. 3 years ago, Drake had worked at the same convenience store I was working at now. That fateful night, during a heavy storm, he heard a loud crash. Rushing outside, he saw his boss had hit a girl with his car. She was still breathing. Drake was about to help her when, to his shock, his boss reversed the car and then accelerated, running her over again. The girl died instantly. Her face was almost completely crushed, yet her eyes remained wide open, staring into Drake's soul. Drake stood frozen in horror, unable to believe what had just happened. Reeking of alcohol, his boss stepped out of the car and walked toward him.
You didn't see anything, understand?
You killed someone. I have to call the police.
If you say a single word, you'll be the next one lying there.
Then he stuffed the girl's body into a large sack, threw it into the trunk, and drove away. Drake stood frozen in the rain, watching the car disappear into the night. For the past 3 months, I've been dreaming of her cries for help. Her face is terrifying. Then where did he take her body? I don't know. I quit my job right after that and never went back. We have to report this to the police. We can't let this go on. No, Joss, he'll kill us. Don't worry, he can't hurt us. Trust me. Without hesitation, I dragged Drake to the police station to report everything. After listening to our statement, the police showed us a photo. Drake immediately recognized it as the girl from that fateful night. It turned out that just a few days ago, a sanitation worker had discovered her remains buried in a landfill. The police launched an immediate investigation and soon arrested my boss.
Ethan sat in the dark room, staring at his laptop screen. On it, a girl sat motionless in the shadows. Suddenly, the girl displayed a crazed expression, an image that haunted Ethan forever. Ethan was a famous writer, known for his spine-chilling horror stories. Lately, however, his works were criticized for being outdated and lacking originality. The pressure from readers and the constant urging from his publisher had worn him down. Every night, Ethan sat in front of his laptop until dawn, reading through hundreds of terrifying tales, but none of them felt fresh or disturbing enough to stir anything in him. That night, around 2 a.m., his bloodshot eyes landed on a dark website. There were red letters on a black background with an enticing title, Untold Secrets, and a single button in the bottom left corner of the screen. View. Curious, Ethan clicked on it. The screen lit up with a series of brutal images of young girls being tortured. They looked like they had been taken by the very perpetrators themselves. The further he scrolled, the more enraged he became at the cruelty of the crimes. The painful expressions on the girls' faces felt like they were tearing his insides apart. When Ethan reached the final page, it was no longer images. It was a video. A thin, disheveled girl sat still in a dark room. She was covered in blood, her clothes torn to shreds. No one could tell how long she had been tortured. Suddenly, she slowly raised her head, her face covered in fresh, bleeding scratch marks. She stared straight into the camera and smiled, an eerie, twisted smile, as if she was smiling at Ethan. A chill ran down his spine. The screen glitched suddenly, and the lights in Ethan's room began to flicker. He tried to check his laptop, but the mouse no longer moved. The keyboard was frozen. He couldn't shut it down. The screen lit up again. Now the girl's face was pressed close to the camera. Before Ethan could react, her hand reached out from the screen and wrapped tightly around his neck. She crawled out of the screen entirely, her head tilted unnaturally to one side, her smile grotesque. Ethan thrashed wildly, his vision blurring, the air draining from his lungs. Then suddenly, Ethan jolted awake at his desk. It had all been a dream. The laptop screen was still playing the video of the girl sitting silently in the chair. He was about to shut the laptop when the screen suddenly switched to webcam mode. Startled, he saw himself on the screen, his pale face clearly visible. Then, behind him, the girl stood, smiling her twisted smile at him.
No, it can't be. Why is she here?
Before he could react, her pale hand reached up and twisted his neck. A few days later, the police found Ethan's body slumped over his desk. The computer was still on, displaying a black screen with red text, Untold Secrets, and a single word in the corner, View. A curious officer clicked on it. The screen showed a video of a girl smiling eerily at him.